Hi, this is Andy. I'm autistic and happy to be so. Now, today I want to talk to you about ABA, or Applied Behavioural Analysis. It's a new therapy, and I say that in inverted commas, and it seems to be taking hold in the USA particularly. Basically, what it is it's teaching autistic kids not to behave in an autistic way, i.e., a neurotypical way, and in doing so, they somehow cure the autism. This came to me mainly via social media. It's quite busy, the discussion on this subject. And it came to me because one particular therapist was bragging really on Twitter about the advice that she'd given the parents of an autistic child. Now, this child was playing nicely with cars, little toy cars, and whenever they played with them, would line them up all in a long line. And the parents were worried because this wasn't traditional play as they recognized it. So the ABA therapist prescribed this. Whenever the child does that, to pick up all the cars and throw them straight in the bin. Yeah, I'll let that sink in. Frightening, isn't it? So, what you're teaching the child is that to behave in an autistic way, of which there is no harm at all, is bad, and by behaving in such a way, you will get punished. The next thing I saw was a documentary, and again, ABA, this dance teacher, was bigging herself up as a cure for autism. And what she would do was, she had this young autistic girl, and they brought her to the dancing, and she would hold her hands and face her and make her make eye contact. And if she looked away, she would actually physically move the face towards her and make the child look at her in the eyes. And then they visited her again a few months later, and they were saying what a success this was because the child could now make prolonged eye contact. Well, I'm sorry, but as an autistic adult, I'm going to burst your bubble. What you're actually doing is teaching your children to be neurotypical and teaching them that autism is a bad thing and it should be punished. And what you're going to do is you're going to seriously traumatize your kids. Now, I'll explain why. When I was a child at school, we didn't know about my autism. There were no services for autism. And so I had no understanding at all. I remember that I had a teacher in the first year at junior school, and she told me off for something. It was something and nothing. And I was looking at the floor. Now, I was looking at the floor because I believe that you should look contrite when you're being told off by an adult. She told my parents that whenever I was told off, I would look at the floor and I would refuse to make eye contact. So I got into trouble at school, and I got into trouble with my parents. 2 years later, another teacher telling me off, similar thing. And I can remember all that was going through my head was make eye contact, make eye contact, make eye contact. And that's what I did. And I developed tools over the years, things like looking particularly at this part. So it looks like you're making eye contact, but actually you're not looking at their eyes. Looking, glancing away, and things like put your eyes out of focus. Anyway, this teacher told my parents that if she ever told me off, I was glaring at her in an insolent manner. And I got in trouble for that. And again, she wrote to my parents, and I got in trouble with my parents, got in trouble with the school. And that quite traumatized me, and that trauma stayed with me really until I was properly diagnosed as autistic at the age of 50. And then I started dealing with all this built-up trauma that I'd had throughout my life, and I was actually diagnosed with PTSD because of all these little things that had built up. Now, if you want to help your autistic child, this is my advice. So this is coming from an autistic adult. Find out their comorbidities. Things like, for me, it's things like sensory processing order, particularly auditory, and help them cope with them. Learn to manage them together. For me, it's things like ear defenders. If I'm going into a noisy environment like a supermarket, earplugs. If I'm at the gym, just small things like that. Think about a crisis care kit. Things that would help your child if they have a meltdown. Things that would soothe your child. And once you've sorted their comorbidities, for instance, anxiety, you know what soothes your child if they get anxious. Once you've sorted that, you can tell your children to be happy to be autistic by example. There is nothing wrong with being autistic. You cannot cure autism because it is something that shouldn't and can't be cured because there's nothing wrong. It's just a different way of thinking. And if your child grows up believing that, then they will grow up to be a happy autistic adult. If you have an autistic child, they will grow up to be an autistic adult. Okay, this is Andy signing off. I hope that my vlog has helped somebody. Okay, take care. Till next time. Bye.